The Red-Headed League is dissolved, October 9th, 1890. Sherlock Holmes and I surveyed this curt announcement and the rueful face behind it, until the comical side of the affair so completely overtopped every other consideration that we both burst out into a roar of laughter. "I cannot see that there is anything very funny," cried our client, flushing up to the roots of his flaming head. "If you can do nothing better than laugh at me, I can go elsewhere." I was staggered, sir. I did not know what to do. Then I called at the offices round, but none of them seemed to know anything about it. Finally, I went to the landlord, who is an accountant, living on the ground floor, and I asked him if he could tell me what had become of the Red-Headed League. He said that he had never heard of any such body. Then I asked him who Mr. Duncan Ross was. He answered that the name was new to him. "Well," said I, "the gentleman at number 4. "What, the red-headed man?" "Yes." "Oh," said he, "his name was William Morris. He was a solicitor and was using my room as a temporary convenience until his new premises were ready. He moved out yesterday." "Where could I find him?" "Oh, at his new offices. He did tell me the address. Yes, 17 King Edward Street near St. Paul's. I started off, Mr. Holmes, but when I got to that address, it was a manufactory of artificial kneecaps, and no one in it had ever heard of either Mr. William Morris or Mr. Duncan Ross."
"And you did very wisely," said Holmes. "Your case is an exceedingly remarkable one, and I shall be happy to look into it. From what you have told me, I think that it is possible that graver issues hang from it than might at first sight appear."
Holmes took on the case with his usual keen interest, sensing that there was more to it than met the eye. "What is he like, this Vincent Spaulding?" "Small, stout-built, very quick in his ways, no hair on his face, though he's not short of 30. Has a white splash of acid upon his forehead."
"I thought as much. Have you ever observed that his ears are pierced for earrings?" "He is still with you?" "Yes, sir. He told me that a gypsy had done it for him when he was a lad." "Well, Watson, what do you make of it all?"
"I make nothing of it. It is a most mysterious business."
"As a rule, the more bizarre a thing is, the less mysterious it proves to be. It is your commonplace, featureless crimes which are really puzzling, just as a commonplace face is the most difficult to identify. But I must be prompt over this matter."
"What are you going to do then?"
"To smoke. It is quite a three-pipe problem, and I beg that you won't speak to me for 50 minutes.
We traveled by the underground as far as Aldersgate, and a short walk took us to Saxe-Coburg Square, the scene of the singular story which we had listened to in the morning. It was a poky, little shabby-genteel place, where 4 lines of dingy, 2-storied brick houses looked out into a small, railed-in enclosure, where a lawn of weedy grass and a few clumps of faded laurel bushes made a hard fight against a smoke-laden and uncongenial atmosphere. 3 gilt balls and a brown board with Jabez Wilson in white letters upon a corner house announced the place where our red-headed client carried on his business. Sherlock Holmes stopped in front of it with his head on one side and looked it all over, with his eyes shining brightly between puckered lids. Then he walked slowly up the street and then down again to the corner, still looking keenly at the houses. Finally, he returned to the pawnbroker's, and having thumped vigorously upon the pavement with his stick 2 or 3 times, he went up to the door and knocked. Observed Holmes as we walked away. "S1, smart fellow that."
"He is, in my judgment, the 4th smartest man in London, and for daring, I am not sure that he has not a claim to be 3rd. I have known something of him before."
Evidently, Mr. Wilson's assistant counts for a good deal in this mystery of the Red-Headed League. "I am sure that you inquired your way merely in order that you might see him."
"You want to go home, no doubt, Doctor?"
he remarked as we emerged. "Yes, it would be as well."
"And I have some business to do which will take some hours. This business at Coburg Square is serious. A considerable crime is in contemplation. I have every reason to believe that we shall be in time to stop it. But today, being Saturday, rather complicates matters. I shall want your help tonight." Narrator: "Why serious?" 10 will be early enough. Narrator: "At what time?"
"I shall be at Baker Street at 10.
"Very well. And I say, Doctor, there may be some little danger, so kindly put your army revolver in your pocket."
It was 9:15 when I started from home and made my way across the park, and so through Oxford Street to Baker Street. Two hansoms were standing at the door, and as I entered the passage I heard the sound of voices from above. Holmes in animated conversation with two men, one of whom I recognized as Peter Jones, the official police agent, while the other was a long, thin, sad-faced man with a very shiny hat and oppressively respectable frock coat.
Ha! Our party is complete.
Said Holmes, buttoning up his pea jacket and taking his heavy hunting crop from the rack.
Watson, I think you know Mr. Jones of Scotland Yard. Let me introduce you to Mr. Merriweather, who is to be our companion in tonight's adventure.